Okay, you're in week 8. You are almost done with this class. Remember, everything is due by Friday this week, just because I have to get grades posted by Sunday. So if you've got a problem, you gotta let me know right away, so that we can make any corrections we need to. But you've got to get this assessment plan in by Friday and your discussion board. So make sure everything's in. If you have any questions, give me a call right away so we can get this taken care of. So your assessment plan is due this week. It goes along with your unit that you already devised. A lot of you put this in your unit already, so this is going to be kind of easy for you to pull out. It's going to have 2 different parts of it. So you're going to have your formative assessment. So you're going to have a minimum of 5 formative assessments to go with your unit. And they could be very simple. They could be your Kahoot quiz that you did. It could be an exit ticket, but make sure that you include what standards you're covering, what objectives you're covering, the essential questions. If there's something that you need a rubric for, make sure you include that, so I know how to grade those. If I'm, a kid taking the test, what kind of grade I would get on it. So here's some examples of formative assessments. There's a lot of them. Don't always do the same one, but you should have a variety of them because you're not going to assess kids the same way each time. You could have observational notes. I'm going to watch kids complete something. You may have them creating something and you're just watching to see if they can do it. You may have a student conference and ask them some questions. One of my favorites is stand and deliver. Ask them to do something right in front of you and watch them do it, or ask them a question and see if they can answer it. It's not a hard way to do an assessment, but it is a way to see if a kid can do it exactly the way you've asked them to do it. Keeping a learning observational notes or notes on what a child can do is a great way to go back and look at what a child can demonstrate. Probably one of my favorites is to analyze student work and see exactly what mistakes a child is making in a certain place, especially with math. That's a great way to do it, or with writing. Constructive quizzes is like a Kahoot quiz. You can see exactly where they're making the mistake right away and correct it. But these are just some nice examples of formative assessments. They are not all of them, but there are some of them. Also, with your project that you're turning in this week, you're doing one summative assessment. So this is your final test or your project or your product that the kids are turning in. You've got to have an answer key or the rubric, include all the student instructions. So if I was a student, I could understand what I've got to turn in and what was expected from me. This is not, you're not explaining what it is. You're actually giving me the project to do. So I've got to, have all the instructions that I need to do. Be careful with this because a lot of teachers will give a test. Let's say it's a math test, and really what you're testing is a reading, or you're testing writing. So be careful that you're assessing what you say you're assessing. It's a little bit difficult to make sure that you're doing exactly what you say you're going to do, but if it's a kid that's like, let's say it's an EL learner, and they've got to read a bunch of stuff before they can do the math problem, what are you really assessing for that child? Be careful with that. Plus, you're going to write up a 1-page paper to go along with this project. You can read the rubric that goes with it, but pretty easy. So get that in by Friday. You can turn it in earlier if you'd like to. And you've got 2 discussion questions this week, so make sure you get that done. I've included a couple of rubrics here. You use rubrics when you're in this college class, and it's probably the best way to get kids to really understand the difference in what's, okay, and then what's exemplary. And a lot of our kids don't understand the difference between a grade or a good paper and a bad paper. They don't see the connection between their work and their feedback that they're getting. And I'm going to very soon talk about grading and feedback here in a minute. But our kids don't see the connection. And I think when we give them something really clear that they understand a little bit better, the connection between what they're turning in and what they're getting back from the teacher, sometimes they just think it's luck that some of those kids are getting better grades than they are. So here's just an example. I got it from Pinterest. Of a child-friendly rubric. I kind of like this one. It gives them very clear examples of what great work looks like and not so great work looks like. Here's another example For math, not so kid friendly. I think if I was teaching little kids, I'd make it a little bit more kid friendly. But just gives them some more information. This is the third grade. I think I'd make it a little bit more kid friendly if I was teaching third grade. Older, a little bit more complex of what the teacher's looking for. And when we talk about, there's a lot of research right now about giving a child feedback, and adults, versus grading. And I don't know if you've been following the movement on this, but there are whole states that have moved away from grading, that there are no letter grades anymore, that they're just giving kids progress towards standards, and that's it. John Hetty's done a lot of research on meta-analysis of educational research, and one of the things that he's found that has the biggest effect in school, bigger than anything else, is feedback to kids. So feedback with grading actually makes their progress go down. It's not a good thing. Grading doesn't actually give them any kind of motivation for improving, as we know, those of us who've been in education. You can give them a good grade and it doesn't really motivate them to do better. Give them a bad grade, doesn't motivate them to do better. But feedback, just feedback with these 5 things attached to that, actually is very motivating for kids. So when it's specific, when it's timely, so it's got to be fast, and technology can help us with this because we can get pretty quick feedback from when we use technology to grade things, at least, with fluency and with problem solving, we can get that back pretty fast. Achievement towards a goal, when it's directed back towards them and what they need to improve on, not competition towards the whole class. And when you involve the learner in setting those goals, tremendous growth for kids. Visible Learning is his book. I know you don't have time right now where you're working on your master's degree, but when you're done, this is a book that you really need to spend some time with because it will talk about the great things you can do in education and what gives you bigger bang for your buck. So I know grading is not what we're talking about right now, but when we're talking about assessments, that really needs to be what you're thinking about is feedback for yourself as a teacher and feedback for students and parents about progress towards goals, not just in the summative part, because we want to give, the progress on the report card, but in the formative part too, so kids can make changes and improve so they can get better grades. All right, guys, really enjoyed working with you during this class. Hope we meet again, and good luck on your progress towards your master's degree.